The following is the complete video portion of Passengers United's preliminary training for new volunteers. We welcome you to watch these video presentations to learn more about Passengers United, the work we do, as well as expectations and other useful information for our volunteers. Please note that this is not a substitute for the full training course, which is mandatory for all volunteers to complete before beginning their service.
This is our preliminary training for new volunteers, and so this is very important. So we're very honored to have all of you here at Passengers United today. You're going to be learning a lot today, and you're going to be learning about the organization, about what we expect and what we require from our volunteers, and how you can be more engaged, because we want our volunteers to get the most out of this volunteer experience, and we want you to grow as a human being. We want you to become a leader, because guess what? In a few years, you're going to be the next leader. The next leader is running things. So Passengers United is not only here for you to volunteer, but we want you to lead. We want to train you to be a leader so you can go out in your community and help people and engage people and make transportation better. That's why we're all here. We're all volunteers. One of the most important things that I need all of you to understand is we don't care where you've been in life or what happened to you. We just want you to succeed. So for instance, there's some things a lot of people don't know about me. I spent 7 years in high school. 7 years in high school, guys. And throughout my life, I was in special education. I went to some really bad high schools. I saw some of my classmates get shot up, stabbed. I saw a lot of things in life that was really, really messed up. But I think what got me through life was just meeting the right people and always, going to the library, always reading and trying to do things different. But the people I was surrounded by, they always told me, "Oh, Charlton, why are you reading a book? Why do you want to learn how to write a book? Why do you want to learn how to use a computer?" So what we're about here at Passengers United is training leaders for the future. We don't only want you to come here and volunteer with us and say, "Oh, I volunteered with Passengers United. It was a great experience." No, we want you to get the most out of this experience. So maybe someday you want to do your own thing and you be a leader in something different. So my goal was always to open up a nonprofit organization, but I always thought it would be about education and something like that. But transportation's in my blood, I guess. And they say people, South Asian people, we're always helping people, we're always doing things. So I guess that's just, in my blood. But I've been a community advocate for 18 years. And I've been going to the MT meetings longer, I think, than Mr. X at the MT board meeting, longer than even all these other advocates came on board. So I'm a person of color. I live in Southeast Queens. I actually went to Park West High School, and then I went to Manhattan Comprehensive 90 High School, and I actually started out at Andrew Jackson High School, guys, which was really, really bad. I used to ride the Q77 bus. In fact, I think I got jumped on the Q77 a couple of times. We used to refer to the Q77 bus. It was crazy. Halloween, I had eggs thrown on me, all kinds of stuff. But growing up in life, I ended up getting a full scholarship to Marymount Manhattan College, and that was the first time I was ever exposed in my life to diversity. I didn't even know what diversity meant until I graduated high school. And my first job was working at Chase Manhattan Bank. I was working as a messenger on the trading floor for $4.25. And when I was working with these traders, my life changed, because I began to say to myself, wow, what the hell did I learn in high school? Nothing. So here I am, out there doing all these things. But when I was in high school, Manhattan Comprehensive 90 High School, before I graduated in 1997, I became involved with student government. And I was the vice president of the leadership, of the high school. And eventually, people saw that I was doing advocacy, I was doing all kinds of things, and I eventually got a full scholarship to Marymount Manhattan College. I was actually in the community leadership program, and we were supposed to be trained on how to be community leaders. The whole idea of that program was to train young people on how to build their own nonprofits. And what ended up happening was I experienced a lot of racism, discrimination. It was everything completely the opposite way. There was hardly any curriculum. In fact, we took over the program and we started doing our own leadership activities, like a homeless outreach night, helping the homeless. And I had people coming up to me, saying, I was in a business class, and this was like a big business class. And I had a professor come up to me and say, why do you want to do a business plan for a nonprofit? Maybe you should collect cans for the homeless or something like that. And I was always told by people that, certain things that I wanted to do in life or anything was too, what's the word I want to use? Too ambitious. So what I want to say to all the volunteers, the reason why I created Passengers United is because I felt we needed an opportunity in the community to give people, young people, an outlet, a place where they can practice their skills, become better leaders, and training. And Jack Narenberg, my vice president, God bless this man, because he's been able to do so much. And I was able to take this young man and train him into a leader and get him to understand things. So this is the goal with all of our new volunteers at Passengers United. We want you to think outside the box. We want you to be creative. We want you to, just because there's no solution to a problem doesn't mean we end it there. We go back and we say, okay, how can we fix this problem? How can we as a community come together to find common solutions? That's the type of thinking we need at Passengers United. We're different from all the other organizations, guys, because in the other organizations, they tell you what to do and how to do it. At Passengers United, we want you to think, right? We want to give you a place to grow as a leader. So throughout the presentation, you're going to see a lot of videos of me speaking about the website, how to access things. You're going to watch a video on ADA disability, which we're going to show you, and just different things. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm so proud of all of you. Thank you for believing in our mission, and the community and everyone in New York City appreciates your leadership. Thank you so much. So our mission statement at Passengers United is very, very important. And the reason why all volunteers should know the mission statement of the organization is because how can you go out there and help the public if you don't even know our mission statement, right? So Passengers United promotes equity, accessibility, safety, and sustainability in our public transit through elevating the voices of the underserved and disenfranchised commuters by research, proactive leadership, and coalition building. That is so important. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charlton D'Souza. I'm the founder and president of Passengers United. So all of you today who joined us for our training, and what we need you to understand, we have a website. All the information about Passengers United and all the information about the different projects that are going on, like the Queens Bus Network redesign, the Brooklyn Bus Network redesign, everything is on our website. So our website is www.passengersunited.org, and when you go to the website, you'll find everything that's here. So as you see, as soon as you come on our homepage, you can access our Queens Bus Network portal redesign. All you have to do is click on that green link, and it takes you right to the Queens Bus Network redesign. And what's nice about this is people want information, right? When you approach people on the street or you approach people at a community event, they want information that they can use. All the information is here. This information is actually links to the MT's website. So you can learn more about the redesign if you click over there. You can actually read other people's comments if you click the link, the white link there. And so these are all the comments that were submitted about the Queens Bus redesign in 2022. And you can see all the comments for all the bus routes. We were able to get that through a Freedom of Act information request. Now, if you want to go back to the Queens portal, you can come back and then you can view the full bus map PDF. You can also submit a comment to the MTA, right, by clicking that link. You can contact your elected officials. You can provide feedback on Remix about your particular bus stop or bus route, whether you want the bus stop reinstated. And one of the things about bus stop reinstatements, I need all of our volunteers to specify that if a bus stop is being eliminated, what you want the residents or the passengers to tell the MTA is, why is that bus stop being eliminated? What are the concerns of the community? Is there a school there, a hospital there, a community center? Maybe there's a grocery store, a church there. And what's the nearest bus stop, right? In some cases with the Queens bus redesign, we've seen bus stops being eliminated 8 to 9 blocks. It was the same thing in the South Bronx at the Patterson houses. And we had to go through a struggle, and there was a lot of things that the community was trying to do to get that bus stop reinstated, but it was really hard. So everything's here, and there's also something called City Mapper, which we have the current routes, the proposed routes link. You can compare your trips. That's also on our website. You can also contact your elected officials below, and then you can actually watch all of the recordings of our prior Queens Bus redesign meetings, which is lovely. So all you have to do is scroll down, guys, okay? Tell people to scroll down on our site. And then we have the other meeting we had in December 20th, last year, I believe. So we have a lot of information, and that's just on one page. So let's scroll back up, and let's go back to the home page. So now, if you live in Brooklyn, you can also access the Brooklyn Bus Network redesign by clicking the green link. Everything that was on the Queens Bus redesign page is here as well. You can learn more about the Brooklyn Bus redesign. You can actually view the full map PDF. You can submit a comment to the MT. You can contact your elected officials. And where it says read other comments in pink, that's actually the old Queens plan. But as you can see, you can contact your elected officials and all that stuff, all right? So let's go back. Oh, and you can actually come down here. Yes, I almost forgot. So this is a comprehensive Brooklyn Bus Network redesign that was written by Alan Rosen, who's our board member. And he did this in November 2019. And this is a great thing to read because this is Alan's plan for the Brooklyn Bus redesign. And what I need you all to do is read that plan and see how it compares to the MT's plan, right? I think Alan's plan is better, but that's just my opinion. And then you can scroll down. You can look at the Brooklyn Bus Network redesign meeting. So Passengers United had the first Brooklyn Bus Network redesign meeting, and we actually held it. So you can re-watch that meeting by clicking that link right there on our website. So now if you go back up to the top, and you can also click main website. So now, what I need all of you as volunteers to understand is we have missions, we have goals. So why don't we pull that up? We are everyday commuters making a difference for everyday commuters. We are the leading grassroots advocates in New York City and the tri-state area for true equity, accessibility, safety, and sustainability in our public transportation by elevating the voices of the underserved and disenfranchised commuters. And with empathy, research, proactive leadership, and coalition building, we strive to improve the quality of life for everyone. Passengers United is volunteer-driven, powered by everyday New Yorkers who regularly use mass transit to live and work. Our team is dedicated to making our mass transit better for everyone, putting your needs and concerns first and foremost. Our work includes among much more, mobilizing communities throughout the region and raising your important issues with the MT and government officials to ensure that all community members, especially those who are disenfranchised and or in more vulnerable situations, are heard and represented. In doing so, we maintain independence from corporate and special interest groups, and we humbly serve with love and dedication, keeping our mission to make our public transit better for everyone at the forefront of our efforts. So I don't expect you to remember this. All I need you to do is to take any new volunteer who's interested, or any community member who's interested in Passengers United. Your job is to direct them to this website and show them this. That's what we want you to do. So now, join the movement. You might have volunteers saying, well, how can I get involved? How can I join Passengers United? We want all of our volunteers to do this email list. So they can join our mailing list, they can get involved, and they can sign up petitions. Everything is there, all right? We have all that stuff. And then if you want to scroll down, we also have in the news, we have all of our videos there that we've been involved in, advocacy in action, on social media. We also have our Facebook, our Twitter, Instagram link, all of that, YouTube. So everything is there. And if you click on the link, it takes you right there. So this is an excellent website. Everything is there. We have all the information. So let's go back up to the top and our work. So we understand what matters to you. You're not alone. That's why we're all in this together to improve our mass transit for everyone. Check out what we stand for and how we help make a difference for all of us. So again, Passengers United is known for our safety. We are #1 in advocating for safety in our mass transit. We have consistently been calling for more police and social workers, protecting and supporting everyday commuters in the subway system. We also educate the public on how to stay safe on the subway and tackle any emergencies that may arise. Whenever there's an incident anywhere, you can count on us to be there. And we go to all the crime scenes, unfortunately. Equity. We care deeply about saving and keeping robust travel service to all who rely on public transportation to live and work. We have spoken at every MT board and committee meeting. I've been doing that for like 18 years now, guys. Meeting about improving service, especially where it is needed the most. You should always have access to frequent, affordable, and reliable transportation. Accessibility. This is a key, right? Accessibility is so important for mobility. So it is imperative that everyone is able to get where they need to go, no matter where they live or their mobility situation. We advocate for more abundant and more reliable mobility infrastructure, such as elevators, escalators, ramps, tactical warning strips, and legible wayfinding. Sustainability. For our transportation to be sustainable, it must be secure and benefit everyone fairly. We support the federal government's Justice 40 initiative and the United Nations 2023 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and are committed to making progress in these essential goals as they apply to transit riders in our communities, And then real action gets results. So, most people don't know what Passengers United has done. And we've done a lot, actually. So real action gets real results, even with no funding. Here's just some of what we've accomplished. And if you click on the links, this is how people can find out what we've done. So Passengers United, we kept doing press conferences about the crime and the situation in the subway, and we finally forced the governor to put surveillance cameras in every subway car. They're not in every subway car yet, but I would say maybe 40% of the fleet now has cameras. They're getting there. We were able to get free cross honoring to LIR Zone 3 stations in Southeast Queens during the pandemic, after a big storm happened. And if you click on these links, you can see the articles. We fought to save the LIR Atlantic ticket. Unfortunately, guys, the MTA took that away from us, the weekly pass and the one-day pass. But they made the city ticket $5. But we're still trying to get a weekly city ticket for Zone 1 and Zone 3, and also for the Bronx and Metro North. We're working on that. I was able to save the Q110 bus service to 179th Street from budget cuts, and that was 20 years ago, guys. We were able to fight to have the NICE 88 bus service expanded dramatically during the summer season. We worked with NICE Bus and with Erica, the vice president, and now NICE Bus has better, more reliable bus service for the summer N88 bus service to Jones Beach. We also got the free Q70 SPS student from LaGuardia Airport. We attended meetings, we did a lot of work on that. We also got $15 million of budget cuts restored for LIRR service during the COVID-19 pandemic. I think that was one of our proudest moments. Matt Camper, all of us. In fact, I think that's how Jack Narenberg came to Passengers United, because of that very press conference. And he was motivated, and now he's our vice president. So, like I said, guys, you never know who's watching. Everyone is always watching you. So you want to be prepared. We also fought to have bus drivers put back on a substitute list to fill added missing runs. Our proudest moment, which we were able to do, was to get the Hollis LIR station audited by the city comptroller, Scott Stringer. And because of that work many years ago, now the Hollis station is finally getting redone. They're going to redo the platforms, they're going to redo the canopies, they're going to put in an elevator, they're going to put in ramps. So this is excellent, guys. And we've also been very good with raising the issue of bed bugs on the subways. I actually got a bill introduced from the Assembly to the Senate, and that was something I was working with the Assemblyman William Colton in Brooklyn, and I was able to get Senator Leroy Comrie to sponsor that legislation. Unfortunately, it died in the Senate because of the MTA, but like I said, guys, never give up. Always fight for what you believe in, and that's what Passengers United is about. We're not controlled by big money. We have no affiliation to Riders Alliance. And Transportation Alternatives, Riders Alliance, all these other groups, they're doing their own thing. They're controlled by corporate interests. Us, we're all grassroots. We ride the subway, we ride the bus, we smell the urine, we smell the piss, the shit, we see the needles, all that stuff every day, guys. So this is as raw as it gets. So now we just go to the next one and join our team. So all aboard, we need volunteers. Join our team of ardent and hardworking stakeholders to help make a difference for the region's everyday commuters. And if you click apply now and meet our team, you can also do that there. So we have all the links, and I'm the founder, obviously. Jack Narenberg is there, he's our vice president. These are our board members, Danny Nankumar, he's our chair. And you should know who are, these people are my boss. Right? So I report to them. So Danny Nankumar is our chair, Sandra Martinez is our vice chair, Karina Nieves is our secretary, Paul Pereira is our treasurer, Alan Rosen is actually the former vice president of New York City Transit Bus Planning. So we have transit professional on our board. I cannot say that the other organizations, I don't know what they're doing, but all of the people here use mass transit. And they're committed to it. And so that's what we want, right? And these were all, people who came together. I didn't even know these people, but we all came together and we built a good, strong organization. So this is how things get done, guys. So never give up, believe in yourself, and support us. So we also, so let me scroll down before we get there. So open executive team positions, we have a lot of slots we need to fill. So we're looking for a vice president of the Long Island Railroad National County Express Advocacy. And it basically has a description, if you click on it, all there. We're also looking for, those positions have been filled, but general volunteers we're always looking for. We're also looking for a writers review media team. This is something that we're working on, and we're trying to put some young people together on that. And we also have things for student leaders. So for all my SUNY, CUNY, and all my Pace University people, we are seeking dedicated and talented volunteers who can intern with us. And what are we looking for with college interns? You're going to have a lot of, you're going to learn a lot of new skills. You're going to meet people. And in return, we give you a thank you letter, we give you a recommendation letter, and a certificate of achievement after completing our in-house leadership training. Honorary membership for a lifetime, plus consideration for future employment with us. So, Jack Narenberg, our vice president, he came to Passengers United just as an ordinary member. And then he got very involved, and now he's our vice president. So there's so many opportunities, guys. You just have to make the most out of it. And what I would say to new volunteers is you want to learn as much as you can while you're interning with us. You want to ask questions. Feel free to reach out to any of us. We're here to listen to your concerns. And if any community members or volunteers, anyone's interested, they can always call us at the number. They can join our team by filling in all the information on our online form. So there are ways to join Passengers United, many ways. You can also upload your resume as well. And we also have our Support Us. So fundraising is very, very important to Passengers United. Help us help you. Making our public transit safer, more equitable, accessible, and reliable is a community effort. Your contribution allows us to have a greater impact on your community, elevate your voice, and better advocate for your needs. So we use Zephy to process our donations and payments. Zephy does not charge any transaction fees, so 100% of your contribution goes to improving your transportation and elevating your communities. Instead, Zelle relies on voluntary contributions to cover the operating cost, which is why you will notice a prompt below to add to them as well. This is completely optional and you can choose any amount you like. Even zero is totally okay. Just make sure to, if you choose not to donate to Zephy, select other in the drop-down menu towards the bottom and enter zero. And guys, this is very, very important. Any friends or relatives who want to donate to Passengers United, can we just go up to the top, right there? Passengers United is a 501c3 pending nonprofit organization, registered with the New York State Charities Bureau, and we are allowed to solicit donations in New York State. However, please know that because Passengers United 501c3 status with the IRS is pending, donations given now are not, I want to repeat, are not tax deductible. Hopefully in another 6 months, we'll get that status and we'll be able to make all donations tax deductible. So when you donate, you can donate a one-time donation of $7, $25, $40, or $100, and you can also do extend your impact. You can do a monthly donation of 50, 100, 60, and all that. That's how Zephy is set up. And you don't even have to go, you can also put in your own amount. So if you want to put in $2.90, you can do that. You can put $5 and make a one-time donation. And it's always good to start small. If you just want to do $5, $2, a one-time donation, that's fine. If everyone in New York City gave us $2.90, the price of a subway fare, a bus fare, imagine how much we'd be able to donate. And then additional information. How did you hear about Passengers United? And then you could just put, your comments there. You could make a donation to Zephy right there, and all that stuff. And if you're donating from a corporate organization or donation, we want to know about that. And then you would just enter the company's name, organization's name right there at the bottom, and then scroll up please, and then you would just go to the payment method. You could put your card, and I actually did the first donation using my phone, guys, and it worked. So you can do this anywhere, and you don't have to make a donation to us. If you want to just volunteer, that's fine. We accept every help we can get. So soon we're going to be having our events posted up here, and we're working on that. So let's go to Rider Reviews News. And so we have a transcript of Alan Rosen's speech on the Brooklyn Bus Network redesign. So Alan was recently at the church in Brooklyn, and it was a great presentation that Alan did for the community out there. So we're very engaged. And what happens in Queens happens in Brooklyn. What happens in Manhattan intersects. So even though Queens and Brooklyn are two different boroughs, what happens in Brooklyn is going to impact Queens and the other way around. So we need to be very, mindful of that. Segregation in transportation. Midtown Manhattan's new toll is the next stop in New York's long history of redlining, forced removal, and community disruption. And this article was done by Blossom Kelly. She's a contributor to Passengers United, and she actually submitted her article here. So it's a lot of great readings and things. So as you can see, we have a lot of information on our website. So this is why we want all of our volunteers, if you're talking to anyone about anything transportation related, just direct them to our website so they can find out what they can do. And I would advise all of you, get familiar with our website, read it, ask questions, right? And meetings. Ask questions of me, Jack, and the team. We're all here to answer your questions and to listen to any concerns you have. Okay, so now join us for a subway safety second, because complacency leads to tragedy, and we have all that there. And as you can see, in the wake of our state emergency in the subway system, Passengers United has released a new educational campaign, Subway Safety Second, to help educate transit riders on how to stay safe while riding public transit, with a series of information, social media posts, short videos, and possible in-person engagement such as rallies, presentations, school assemblies, and more. We hope that transit riders will not just understand our safety tips, but remember them and incorporate them into their daily habits. These tips are especially important today, and they have the potential to reduce injuries and deaths, much like we've seen recently when they're followed and taken to heart. And you have all the stuff here. So, these are just all the interesting posters we have. Stand away from the edge of the platform. Don't look them in the eye. But guys, if someone's attacking you on the subway, look them in the eye, because you need to describe the suspect to the police. And then the best tip we have is on 10-car trains, the conductor is in the 6th car of the train. So this is something that's very good. On 8-car trains, the conductor is in the 5th car. The 7 train has 11 cars. The conductor is in either the 6th or 7th car. On the G trains and shuttles with fewer than 8 cars, the operator often does all the conducting from the very front or the back. So we have all that stuff there, guys. All right? So a lot of information we've given you. I think we've pretty much, we have petitions, yes. So provide better transit alternatives to Roosevelt Island commuters. Restore and expand LIR Atlantic ticket, which is now a city ticket. Restore and direct LIR Brooklyn service. And we got a lot of people signing these petitions. I think one of our biggest petitions, which Alan Rosen did, was oppose the MTA's plan to eliminate bus stops. And I think that affects everyone in every borough. So that's what we need our volunteers to direct people to. So people say on the street, how can I take action? How can I get involved? How can I help? Here's it right here, guys. It's all on our website. It's one-stop shopping. Everything is right there. That's the easiest thing for our volunteers. And a couple of things. Let's get in touch for media inquiries. And this is something that we want all of our volunteers to be mindful of. If the media comes to you and they want to talk to you, direct the media towards either me or Jack. And we would strongly suggest to have the media call us at this number. They can also fill out the online form and they can talk to us. We don't want volunteers talking to the media because sometimes volunteers mean well, but sometimes they might give the wrong information. So if you're talking, as a private citizen, that's fine. But if you're talking on behalf of Passengers United, we strongly recommend that you either come to me or Jack, or you have the media call this number, and then we can respond to them in a professional way with an accurate answer or an accurate comment to whatever situation is happening. So this is pretty much it, guys. Everything's here on our website. So you're probably wondering, as a new volunteer or an existing volunteer, what are our public positions on safety? Most of you know we've been very active on this issue, so I want to make it very clear to all of our volunteers and community stakeholders. We support our first responders who go into very dangerous situations in the subway system and are severely understaffed. You guys have no clue what happens in the subway system. Most times in the transit police, there's maybe only 9 police officers doing the overnight tour. They are severely staffed, even in police precincts throughout the city right now. A lot of police officers are leaving. So sometimes when you call 911 and you're waiting for a police officer to respond, don't be surprised if the 911 operator is asking you a ton of questions, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to prioritize that call and they're trying to break it down. So if it's a call for an emotionally disturbed person, that's not going to be on the high priority list. But if it's a call for a robbery in progress or for a shooting, that's going to be, the big thing. So many transit riders and workers have been pleading for greater police protection in the subway system. We echo their pleas. In fact, we've been organizing, we've been doing a lot of things. We go to a lot of the crime scenes. That's what we've been known for at Passengers United. When 911 calls come in, police need to respond within 3 minutes. That's our goal, not 15 to 20 minutes. I've actually been in situations where we had a man who was trying to commit suicide at the 34th Street Herald Square subway station. I kid you not, 45 minutes went by, no one came to help us. And the man had no shirt on, he was going to touch the third rail. It was a very scary situation. And we had to entice him with a $20 bill. True story, to get him out of the track bed. Very scary situation. So we've been calling for the deployment of 400 social workers in the subway system on 2 shifts. And remember, how many subway stations we have? 472 subway stations. I want to repeat that again. 472 subway stations. Trains operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, the social workers have to have training on how to handle and diagnose EDPs. And in most cases, police are not authorized to hospitalize EDPs. What are EDPs? Emotionally disturbed people involuntarily. So right now, we want the social workers to have training to handle and diagnose EDPs. In most cases, police are not authorized to hospitalize EDPs involuntarily and get them the help they need. So a police officer cannot go into a subway station and say, you sleeping on the bench, or if someone's acting out crazy, they have to take them, they have to get a sergeant to come, and they really have to get a clinician to make the determination to get them out. The only time a police officer can take someone to the hospital is if they have attacked someone, if they're disrupting train service, if they're jumping on the tracks trying to commit suicide, only then can they take them out. So it gets very dicey, and it involves a lot of layers of the NYPD. So one of the things at Passengers United, we've been saying, the MT's rules of conduct needs to be enforced properly. We shouldn't see people holding the gate open at subway stations, allowing people to offer swipes. Those things should not be permitted. We shouldn't see people jamming up the MetroCard machines so they can open the gate and sell swipes. We don't want that in the subway system. We don't want people, sleeping who are soiled. And this is something that I've gotten into controversy with elected officials. A lot of times you'll have elected officials who will say, Charlton, what is wrong with the homeless individual sleeping on the subway system to warm up? Well, guess what? The first day, on day 1, it might be fine. On day 2 or day 3 and 4, when that individual's off his or her medications, and they start acting out, and they start going crazy, I'll give you an example where they start acting out, they start harassing people, they become really erratic, where they're just running up and down the platform, talking to themselves, mumbling to themselves, cursing people out. They start throwing things at people. That's when an individual has to be hospitalized at that point. They're a danger to themselves, they're a danger in the subway system, they're a danger to the operation of the subway system and to train crews. They have to be taken out and removed immediately. And the New York State Legislature should revisit bail laws and pass legislation to give judges the jurisdiction they need. We support this. This is our policy position, so they can keep repeat offenders out of our public transit system. So right now, The subway system is in a state of emergency. It is not safe in the subway system. In fact, even with the National Guard and the police down there, we see people injecting needles. And once people start doing drugs, they start, they become delusional. They start, they become so high that they start leaning towards the edges of platforms. And when that starts happening, you see a lot of people falling onto the track bed. Suicides right now in the New York City subway system are out of control. So we need help for people committing suicide in the subway system. We want them. This is why we want the NYPD to be able to be proactive and for the social workers to be able to be proactive. But right now, what we need from the governor is more hospital beds. We do not have that in the subway system right now. And 400 beds is not enough. You would need, I would say, 30 to 40,000 beds in the state. And that's not even going to solve it. You even need to be proactive to get a person out of a situation where they need to come in the subway system. It shouldn't even result to that. We're seeing a lot of homelessness in the subway system. People tend to come down to get shelter because that's the warmest place. And what we need to be sensitive to is that a lot of these homeless individuals have suffered trauma, sexual abuse. They've actually been assaulted in the shelters. The homeless people don't want to go to the shelters. Even the migrants, they don't want to go there because there's gang activity, they're being robbed, they're being assaulted. So we need to have compassion and dignity, in the subway system. When you come across someone who's, homeless, they don't have a place to live. The word we want to use is unhoused. That's the appropriate word we want to use. But again, guys, it's a very sad situation in a subway. And at Passengers United, we don't have all the solutions. But by working together with the community, we can come out with something that can help everyone.
In addition to safety, equity is one of the primary things that Passengers United strives to advance. You may have heard some other prominent voices in the transportation advocacy field in New York also call for greater equity in transportation, yet their actions show that they demonstrate a lack of understanding of the subject. Therefore, it is critical that, as volunteers and advocates for transportation equity, we are as well versed as possible, as well as open to new ways of thinking that can improve our work for the public. Let's start with a basic question. What is equity? Equity, a term used frequently in the social sciences, transportation planning, and policymaking, is defined by the Oxford English Dictionary as the quality of being fair and impartial. In other words, equity is about giving everyone a fair and proportional chance to thrive so that no one excessively benefits at the expense of others. Unlike equality, where everyone gets the same amount of resources, with equity, everyone is given what they need to thrive in the same capacity. But how does this general understanding of equity apply to transportation? In the context of transportation planning and policymaking, equity, in summary, means accounting for all populations in decisions around their transportation and providing fair access to it. Greater access to transportation often means greater access to employment, and so more equitable transportation allows for decent job opportunities for everyone. More often than not, equity is discussed concerning public transit. It typically involves providing decent transit to those who do not have them, giving them equivalent benefits such as commuting options and reliable service to those who already have them, and making sure that those who rely on transit are accounted for and served well by it. Many factors contribute to inequities, particularly those involving transportation, including location, race, ethnicity, gender, age, ability, illness, and class. Many populations who rely on transit are lower-income people of color who do not have access to personal vehicles. Data from numerous studies surrounding equity show that disadvantaged populations, such as these, are not served by public transit as decently as other demographic groups. Several scholars who have done research on equity in transportation suggest that, to reduce such inequities, analyzing their root causes and taking a comprehensive approach that allows for better understandings of the people involved is required. This includes analyzing data more closely, asking more thorough questions, like how and where people commute as opposed to just where they live, and directly engaging with the public for more qualitative results. We will dive deeper into that in the next couple modules. As we have established in the previous module, Our job at Passengers United is to not only advocate for the needs of the ridership, but to prioritize and elevate the needs of those who are disadvantaged and/or in more vulnerable situations, no matter how they are. We do so by bridging the gaps in equity, not only with regard to community engagement, but also the ways in which equity is approached by decision-makers at the MTA, city, and state governments. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, sex, religion, or national origin. In the Civil Rights Act, Title VI establishes that no person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Transportation agencies like the MTA and New Jersey Transit receive federal funding and are thus subject to Title VI. While Title VI outlaws discrimination and provides a level of accountability for it, it barely paves the way for equity to be advanced within these agencies. Currently, equity is only really considered by transportation planning, policy, and operation decision-makers, most notably the MTA, as a secondary factor that is one, among many other factors that carry greater weight, and two, necessary to remain in compliance with Title VI. We believe that these decision-makers need to instead institutionalize equity, which means prioritizing it as a leading factor and indicator in their day-to-day work. This largely requires a shift in their perceptions and priorities within their agencies. As Anna Gartzman, Director of Strategic Research of the MBTA, explains, it's better to put the equity measures on the same plane as everything else. Factors that may not matter as much to a wider majority of riders may be critical for a more vulnerable population, regardless of whether they are in the minority. Instead of solely focusing on majority satisfaction or support, for example, 85% of bus riders benefit from this initiative, emphasize that remainder and ask who they are, where they come from, whether they are disadvantaged in any way, why they are in this remainder, and how they can be accommodated, for example, who are part of that 15%, and so on. We will dive deeper into how decision-makers, and by definition, us advocates, should define, approach, and measure equity in the next module. The specific ways in which equity should be measured are dependent on each situation. However, the same guiding principles should be kept throughout. First, as Anna Gartzman, Director of Strategic Research of the MBTA, says, put the equity measures on the same plane as everything else. Define the populations of interest, which will be subjective for each situation, as well as the impacts that transportation planning, policy, and operation decisions would have on those populations. Focus on both the short-term and long-term impacts and goals. The short-term goals should be about harm reduction, while the long-term goals should focus on building a better system. For any initiative, follow these steps. Before beginning the initiative, clearly define its objectives. Determine who the populations of interest, the transit-critical populations, are. This changes based on the context. Only then, measure how the objective of the initiative would be satisfied for each population. Specify any vague terms. Understand that the answer for one population may, and will most likely, be different than that of another. Also, understand that, while one population may be in the minority, their needs bear at least the same importance as the needs of the majority, especially if they are more vulnerable. Do not undermine the needs of the minority because they are in the minority. Let's use the redesign of a bus network to illustrate how this process of measuring equity should be done. Before beginning the initiative, clearly define its objectives. The goal of a bus network redesign is to improve bus service. Determine who the populations of interest, the transit-critical populations, are. In the context of redesigning a bus network, the transit-critical populations are people of color, people in low-income households, seniors, and people with disabilities. Only then, measure how the objective of the initiative would be satisfied for each population. What would it mean to have better bus service for blank? fill in the blank for each population individually. So you would answer, what would it mean to have better bus service for people of color? And so on. Specify any vague terms. What does better mean in the context of redesigning a bus network? A better network is competitive with car travel. Then answer the question of what that means for each population individually. Understand that the answer for one population may, and will most likely, be different than that of another. The competitiveness formula is different for seniors and people with disabilities than it is for able-bodied people. The measurement system needs to account for what it means for transit to be competitive for these groups, even if those with disabilities make up less of the total population. All throughout, make sure to properly engage and empathize with the public and, particularly, the populations of interest to gather data. We'll touch on more of that in the next module. People will often deem something to be good for everyone based on their own biases or perceptions of how something ought to be. This kind of advocacy work, called performative equity, when it's done in the name of equity, which tends to be the case, is typically ineffective because it doesn't properly incorporate the needs of the people, if at all, or result in solutions that benefit everyone fairly. In fact, disadvantaged populations are often adversely affected because of this. Passengers United was formed largely to bridge the gap in representation for disadvantaged communities who have consistently lacked it in the many transportation decisions and initiatives that affect them, because the MTA and other existing advocacy groups have been practicing performative equity. We intend to change that by instead practicing authentic equity, by empathizing with the people we serve, listening to their needs with an open mind, lifting their voices, and centering them in our efforts. Instead of just being there for the people and speaking for them, with authentic equity, we are there with them. By practicing authentic equity, the people trust and support us because they feel validated by us. Those who practice performative equity see those who don't support a particular plan, policy, or change, typically one that they support, as their opposition, quickly jumping to that conclusion. As we do the important work of practicing authentic equity, it is important to make the distinction between someone who disagrees because they are on the opposing side and someone who disagrees because they are silently suffering and would be adversely affected if we don't factor in their input, and would provide us with a greater understanding. In her book, Inclusive Transportation, a Manifesto for Repairing Divided Communities, Veronica Davis, a member of the United States Department of Transportation's Advisory Committee on Transportation Equity, provides a general idea of the people we are guaranteed to encounter, both as advocates and decision-makers, and the questions we should keep in mind as we work with them. First, there are the people in power. For them, keep in mind these questions. What do they care about? What do they value? What may be their concerns about a particular project, initiative, or our agenda? What do they need to see to support that particular project, initiative, or our agenda? Next, we have the naysayers. The questions to keep in mind for them are, who benefits from the existing condition? How do they benefit from the existing condition? What would they have to give up for things to change? What will happen to them if things change? Then there are the champions. For them, keep these questions in mind. Who wants something different? Why do they want change? What is the outcome they desire? And last, but certainly not least, we have the silently suffering. For them, keep these questions in mind. Who is being hurt by the existing condition? Who could be hurt if you make or advocate for a change without their input?
One of the things that I want to talk to the volunteers is time management. So we're having an event, and let's say the event is at 9 a.m. or let's say the event's at 10 a.m. We want our volunteers to arrive 30 minutes before the event, even an hour before the event, because we have to do setup, we have to do breakdown. So talk to us or your team leader, and they will work it out with you in terms of scheduling and everything. And one thing I always say to new volunteers, if you're going to commit to something, make sure that you can commit to it, because a lot of times I think volunteers get really excited and they want to do everything. But sometimes, we're all human, we all get tired, we all get, flustered with the school schedules, work schedules. So one of the things that we've seen in the volunteers that have been coming to Passengers United, sometimes we'll have a volunteer come in the beginning and then we don't see them for like 2 or 3 months. So we want volunteers to work a very realistic schedule and just tell us, we're very understanding. If you can do 1 hour a week or 4 hours a week, that's fine. Maybe you come once a month, just let us know what your schedule is and how you can volunteer with Passengers United. That's all we're asking for. And I think that's pretty much it, guys. This has been a great presentation. So when you go out in the community, we have a Passengers United pledge that we're going to ask you to take in the volunteer class, and that will be forthcoming. Thank you. All right, so subway safety tips for our volunteers and transportation tips in general. So whenever our volunteers are outside at an event, maybe you're in a subway station talking to people, maybe you're at a bus stop, we need you to consider safety and always work in numbers. Never go anywhere alone. We don't encourage that. And one of the things that we want to stress, all of our members who are volunteering with us at Passengers United are not allowed to have any weapons of any kind. We do not condone that. We do not permit that. And also when you're talking to people, talk to them very professionally. Try not to scream at them. We don't want that. Be very polite and humble. But obviously in life things happen. You could be at a subway station, you could be volunteering, and something happens. So let's say you're at a subway station and you see a crime in progress. The first thing we want you to do is press the helpline intercom and let the station agent know that something's happening. If you cannot find the station agent, and really if there's a crime in progress, always call 911 immediately, and let them know what's happening, the station you're at, the platform you're at. Are you on the uptown platform? Are you on the downtown platform? The subway line, the subway station. And that's very important. The subway car number, the bus number. These are things that help law enforcement get you faster. What we don't want volunteers doing, and I want to stress this, we do not want any volunteer holding down any suspects, chasing them. We do not want you talking to any people who might be injecting needles because they're concerns with HIV, AIDS. Try to stay away from all of that. The only reason that you should be in a subway station volunteering for Passengers United is if you're attending an MT event, if you're attending an event that has been approved by Passengers United leadership and we've asked you to be there, or if you want to talk about like subway service, budget cuts and things like that, you should always be with a team member. You should never be by yourself. So we want to stress that very importantly. And if you're riding the subway by yourself on your own time and you see a situation happening, I would always suggest, if you see a crime in progress and you're at a subway station where you have a cell phone signal, call 911. If you are on a subway train inside the tunnel, the first thing you want to do, if you're on the newer legacy trains, on the newer trains, you want to press the help point and notify the conductor what the car number is. Very important. Always want to have the car number, the station, and the direction of travel. So you want to tell the conductor, I'm in car 9756, and there's a man with a knife, or whatever it may be, right? Now, if you're in the subway car and somebody has a knife, what I would strongly suggest, move to the next subway car to notify the crew. Do not do it in the same subway car. because then the attacker could come after you or whatever, right? And just some common sense subway tips. When you're riding the subway system, you always want to eyeball everyone that's coming onto the train. And you want to look for trouble before it happens. So what are red flags in the subway system? If you see someone coming through a subway car, opening the door, why are they doing that, right? That's a red flag right there. Maybe the other car didn't have air conditioning and maybe they're switching over in the summertime, that's fine. But if you're on a subway car, on an isolated car, and you see an individual walking through the subway car, looking at everyone's cell phones, what does that tell you? He's either trying to case out people's phones to rob, and he's up to no good intentions. And you can also tell people by how they walk and how they move. If you have individuals who have a hood on and their face is covered up with a shiesty, I hate to say it, guys, but they're up to no good and they need to be monitored. Monitor them from a distance, right? And there's ways to do that. So always be alert of your surroundings. You always want to be in the conductor's the conductor's car, with, by the conductor or by the motorman or the train operator in the front. You never want to be in the last car. And what I will tell all of our Passengers United members, do not wear valuables on the subway. Keep all that stuff at home, because sometimes people, when they have valuables or you have an expensive cell phone, the robbery teams that are working in the subway now, they're working in teams. So one person might spot your phone and be watching your cell phone, but guess what? He's probably texting his friend on the platform, on the stairway, to say, this lady's coming up and she has on a black dress on and she has an Apple phone. And as you're coming up, the other person tries to rob you. So this is how robbery gangs work in the subway system. In terms of sexual predators, you always want to keep an eye out for them, and they tend to sit towards the sides of the cars. They'll tend to be by the turnstiles. Sometimes they'll just stay there for 30 minutes, eyeballing people. Sometimes they'll follow you up the stairs. So just keep these things in mind when you're traveling on the subway. And even at night, or any time of the day, never use an isolated subway entrance. So the subway system has 472 subway stations in the subway system, right? There is something called NYPD Transit Bureau. So in every borough, they have transit patrol districts. They have, in Queens, it's District 20, District 33. In Manhattan, it's District 1, District 4, District 2. And, they're located in different stations. So the transit police stations in Queens are located at Van Wyck Boulevard on the F line and the E line. That's called District 20. It's over there, Van Wyck Boulevard. The other district is in Far Rockaway. That's District 33. Then you also have the other districts in Brooklyn, but in Manhattan, at Union Square, you have District 4. 59th Street, Columbus Circle, you have District 1. And then you also have a transit police district at 145th Street. You also have a district at Yankee Stadium on the D line. You have a police station there. You also have a police station at 180th Street on the 2 and 5 line. So as you're volunteering with Passengers United, we'll share this information with you. But I think in order to help people in the subway, the first thing you want to do is get 911 on the phone. Sometimes notifying the conductor and the train operator could actually delay response, because sometimes, the RCC, the Rail Control Center, will tell the train crew, radio for police en route, and that doesn't help the situation. So always call 911, give them an accurate description. You might see homeless individuals in the subway system, and they're not allowed to bring shopping carts into the subway system. Shopping carts have been banned in the New York City Transit subway system. That's something you need to know. And the other thing is, a lot of times you might encounter MetroCard vending machines that are broken. So what we say to our volunteers, if you don't have the fare to pay to get in, do not, and I want to stress this, do not jump the turnstile under any circumstance. You want to find the station agent, tell the station agent what the problem is, and let the station agent buzz you in, if possible. But again, guys, we don't want our volunteers ever jumping turnstiles. That's not what we support. Other organizations support that crap, but we do not support that at Passengers United. Everyone has to pay the fare. If you don't have the fare, there are other programs we're going to educate you guys on called Fair Fares and all kinds of different programs in the subway system. And the other thing is, we know that some women carry mace with them. I would be very cautious about that. And one of the reason why the NYPD doesn't want us holding down suspects in the subway or chasing people is because you never know. That individual could have a weapon, a knife. That individual could, have a needle with them and poke you with it. You never know. There's a lot of things going on in the subway system. And a lot of these emotionally disturbed people are very strong. They're very violent. So that's why let the police do their job. And another thing, if you see a police encounter going on where the police are stopping someone, questioning them, or holding down a suspect, stay away from the police. Give them their distance. Let the police officers do their jobs. Do not come up on them. Do not interfere with them. They are serving out a lawful process, and we have to respect that process. Whether we agree with it or not, let the police do their jobs. And then the other things I wanted to stress was always be careful on subway trains. Sometimes there are bed bugs on the seats. We know blood, feces. Look where you're sitting. And look where you're going in the subway station. When you walk down a subway entrance, especially if it's isolated at night, make sure you know what street you're on. And make sure you're going in the right subway station. And this is just general advice, right? Anytime you're entering anything, you want to make sure that you're safe. And if someone does attack you, look them in the eye, because you want to have a description of that suspect. That's very helpful to the police. And if you can record that encounter, fine. Most times you can't because you're so busy. But if you have to run away from a suspect, try to get that guy to run under a surveillance camera so that we can get an image of the guy or the woman or whoever's involved. And the other thing I would say, if you're in a subway station and you see a group of suspicious individuals in a stairway and you're by yourself, go up and turn around and get out. Don't go down. Because they could be trying to mug you, they could be trying to rape you, or whatever the situation is. So just use common sense. Common sense goes a long way in the subway station. And I think being proactive, and if you're tired, sometimes we're all tired. I've been guilty of that, right? And always stand up. Standing up keeps you alert. And one of the things, the reasons why people get robbed in the subway and things happen to them is because they lose focus of situational awareness. Situational awareness is very important in the subway system, especially now. So whenever you enter a subway station or you're working in a particular area, you want to know where are the exits, you want to know what the help points are. And if you're volunteering for Passengers United, you want to know who the station agents are, right? You want to have a relationship with the cleaners, the station agents, because that's important. And also, if there are stations with conditions like 27th Street and 7th Avenue, we've had a lot of problems there. 34th Street, Herald Square. What other stations I can think of? 110th Street, Central Park North, that's a bad station. 7th Avenue, 53rd Street, 5th Avenue, 53rd. These are stations where drug users tend to be. So again, be super cautious when you're traveling. And if somebody wants to pick a fight with you, you want to diffuse the situation and get out of that situation as fast as possible. And getting out of a situation doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't make you lesser. It actually makes you smarter because you're trying to get out of a bad situation before it escalates and gets even worse. So always, use your head when you're in the subway. Think, be proactive. That's what we want our volunteers to do. We're giving you a lot of safety tips for our new volunteers, but all of the information is on our Subway Safety Second page. And again, save your scalp. See Subway Safety Second Tip 5. Use common sense. Check out Subway Safety Second. Again, we're going to show you how to find and navigate all these things on our website. It is so important. So I want all of our volunteers to realize a couple of things. We are not them. Some facts you should know. Passengers United was initially created because other existing advocacy organizations, so-called organizations, quote unquote, demonstrated that they lacked the empathy, knowledge, and understanding necessary to fulfill their missions as voices for everyday transit riders. So all of you guys may have seen videos of me screaming at, protesting at Riders Alliance events, transportation alternative events, and just other organizations in general. And there are some bad actors out there, guys. They don't come to meetings, they don't do the hard work in the community, but they come into our communities, they disrespect us, they disrespect community members, and they come in and they put $1 million bus ads in our community saying to support certain bus redesigns. When they don't live in our community, they don't interact, they don't ride the buses. And so there's a lot of stake here. So the reason why all of you are volunteering with Passengers United is because you realize there's a crisis going on in transportation in New York City. And we are here. We are answering the call to the violence happening in the subway system, the service disruptions, the breakdowns, the lack of bus drivers, the conditions that we have to deal with. So that's what Passengers United is really about. And so sometimes, even though, we had you take the pledge and we explained to you our mission and our goals, sometimes, situations happen where you could be having a press conference with Passengers United and the other groups will come and disrupt our press conference, disrupt our event, or better yet, you could be at an event and they'll tell you to get off the sidewalk. You don't belong here. So, these are things that are going to happen. I would suggest try to remain very humble and try to ask qualifying questions like, why do you feel this way? Why are you throwing us out of your event? Why are you treating us like this? And just ask qualifying questions. And I'm sure Jack can allude to some of these things, right, Jack? So Jack, what would be some of the things that you would want people to understand? Because remember the event we had on congestion pricing, the rally? What were some of the things that happened?
Yes, I do. So what happened was we were part of a larger coalition and we were having a peaceful press conference. This happened, I think, about just over a year ago. What did they do? They stormed in, nearly incited a riot, drowned us out with noisemakers, and ultimately succeeded in stealing our press coverage, or at least gaining it from us. So I think one of the many things that we want to really emphasize is that we want to rise above them. First of all, we are not them. People often mistake us for them. But at the same time, we want to make sure that people know what we stand for and that we're well versed in what we do, so that ultimately people take us more seriously. So one of the ways that we can really emphasize that is by really, again, as Charlton pointed out, asking legitimate questions that will ultimately lead them to fail to answer them properly, because they clearly won't be able to.
And one of the things that's happening in other communities is that they're disrespecting seniors. In fact, at the rally, wasn't there?
They were mocking seniors. They were mocking people with disabilities, and we don't tolerate that of any kind. We don't tolerate any discrimination or anything like that, and we denounce it in all its forms. And therefore, we're denouncing that. We're sick. It sickens us that any kind of advocate in New York City would be discriminating like that and still getting the same recognition that they're getting, as if they weren't doing that. It's unacceptable. We don't tolerate it from them, and we're not tolerating it internally.
There's been times I've had the police called on me. They told me I couldn't stand on a sidewalk in the community where I volunteered and served. And community members were told they couldn't join. So this is what we're going up against, guys. So if you're ever in a situation where you're by yourself or you're with another team member and a member of, Riders Alliance, Transportation Alternatives, or any of those organizations are harassing you, you need to call us immediately. on our personal cell phones, and you need to notify us immediately of what happened so that we have an idea of what's going on. But that should never happen, but it has happened.
It's happened
So
to us.
Yes.
I mean, things like this, I predict will be unlikely for you, but in the event that it does happen, here's what to do, and that is notify us immediately, and we will get right to you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay?
So every Passengers United volunteer and member, you need to know the NYPD Transit District map. So the NYPD has something called a Transit Police Bureau, and they're called Transit Police Districts. So for instance, on this map that you're looking at now, this is a subway map, but as you can see, if you look on the purple under the 7 line, it says NYPD TD District 20. So all the stations on the N line in Queens, the 7 line, the EF, and parts of the J are covered by NYPD District 20, which is located at Van Wyck Boulevard, on the Queens Boulevard line. Now, for instance, let's look at the Bronx. So we have NYPD Transit District 12, and that covers the 6 line, the 5 line, that also covers parts of the 2 and 5. And then, as you can see, NYPD Transit Bureau District 11, that covers the D line and the 4 line. And then you have NYPD Transit Bureau District 3, which is brown, that covers the 1 line. And that also covers stations in Uptown Manhattan. Then in Manhattan, you have District 4, which covers Harlem, the Upper East Side, and parts of Midtown East. That's NYPD Transit District 4. And then you have NYPD Transit District 1, which covers all the stations on the Upper West Side. Midtown West, you have all those stations. Then in downtown Lower Manhattan, you have NYPD Transit District 2, which is at Canal Street. So NYPD Transit District 1 is at 59th Street, Columbus Circle. NYPD Transit Bureau District 2 is at Canal Street on the AC and E line. District 4 is on the N, R, Q, and W, 4, 5, and 6 at 14th Street. So in Brooklyn, you have NYPD Transit District 30. That is at Hoyt Scrimmahorn Station, I believe. And that covers all the stations in Greenpoint, Boerum Hill, and that part of Brooklyn. And then in East New York, you have NYPD Transit District 33, which is at the East New York subway station on the A and the C, J. And then in Queens, you also have NYPD District 23. That's in Far Rockaway, as you guys can see. You have that there. NYPD Transit District 32 really covers all the stations at Crown Heights, Utica Avenue, Brownsville. It covers parts of Brooklyn, Flatbush Avenue, and all those stations.
And finally, Transit District 34 covers the southern parts of Brooklyn.
So this map shows you where all the districts are, and it's very good to get to know this stuff. Very, very important, guys. So this is the Transit District map. And for those of you wondering about Staten Island Railway, they're covered by the MT Police Department. They have a substation there. So we need all of our members to understand. We showed you the map earlier of the transit police districts throughout the city. And remember, we have 472 subway stations in the New York City transit system. So what you guys need to know is that every transit police district is like a police precinct upstairs. So as you know, as you might not know, police precincts are broken into sectors. So the same thing applies to subway stations. And you also have a neighborhood coordination officer, or they're called NGOs or NCOs, and they're basically police officers for each sector.
Let's look at each transit district. Transit District 1 is split into 3 sectors. It mainly covers portions of the Upper West Side and Midtown, as well as the Lexington Avenue 63rd Street station on the F and Q lines. Transit District 1 is located at the 59th Street Columbus Circle station on the 1A, B, C, and D lines. Transit District 2 is split into 3 sectors. It covers all of Western Manhattan from 34th Street down, as well as all of Lower Manhattan from Canal Street down. Transit District 2 is located at the Canal Street station on the A, C, and E lines. Transit District 3 is split into 3 sectors. It covers all of Western Manhattan from 96th Street up, as well as all stations on the 1 line in the Bronx. Transit District 3 is located at the 145th Street station on the A, B, C, and D lines. Transit District 4 is split into 3 sectors. It mainly covers all of Eastern Manhattan from 125th Street down to East Broadway on the F line. Transit District 4 is located at the 14th Street Union Square station on the 4, 5, 6, L, N, Q, R, and W lines. Transit District 11 is split into 3 sectors. It covers all B, D, and 4 line stations in the Bronx, as well as the 138th Street and 149th Street Grand Concourse stations. Transit District 11 is located at the 161st Street Yankee Stadium station on the BD and 4 lines. Transit District 12 is split into 3 sectors. It covers all stations on the 2, 5, and 6 lines in the Bronx. Transit District 12 is located at the East 180th Street station on the 2 and 5 lines. Transit District 20 is split into 4 sectors. It covers all stations along the Astoria, Flushing, and Queens Boulevard lines, the J and Z lines in Queens, the G line in Long Island City, as well as Roosevelt Island and 21st Street Queensbridge on the F line. Transit District 20 is located at the Briarwood station on the E and F lines. Transit District 23 is split into 2 sectors. It covers all stations on the A line in Queens, including the Lefferts Boulevard branch, Aqueduct Racetrack, Aqueduct North Conduit Avenue, Howard Beach, Broad Channel, and all stations in the Rockaways. Transit District 23 is located at the Rockaway Park, Beach 116th Street station on the A line, which is also served by the Rockaway Park Shuttle. Transit District 30 is split into 3 sectors. It covers all stations on the G line in Brooklyn, as well as many stations in northwestern Brooklyn on the 2, 3, 4, 5, A, C, F, and R lines. It also covers the DeKalb Avenue station on the B, Q, and R lines, but does not cover the Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center station complex. Transit District 30 is located at the Hoyt-Schermerhorn Street station on the A, C, and G lines. Transit District 32 is split into 3 sectors. It covers the Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center station complex. From there, it covers the rest of the 2, 3, 4, and 5 lines in Brooklyn, the B and Q lines up to Cortelyou Road, and the D, N, and R lines up to 25th Street. It also covers all stations on the Franklin Avenue Shuttle, except its northern terminus at Fulton Street. Transit District 32 is located at 960 Carroll Street, just 3 blocks away from the Franklin Avenue station on the 2, 3, 4, and 5 lines. Transit District 33 is split into 3 sectors. It covers all stations on the J, L, M, and Z lines in Brooklyn, the A and C lines from Kingston Throop Avenues to Euclid Avenue, the Grant Avenue station on the A line, as well as the rest of the M line in Queens from Seneca Avenue to Metropolitan Avenue. Transit District 33 is located at the Broadway Junction station on the A, C, J, L, and Z lines. And lastly, Transit District 34 is split into 3 sectors. It covers the rest of the B, D, F, N, Q, and R line stations in southern Brooklyn. Transit District 34 is located at the Coney Island, Stillwell Avenue station on the D, F, N, and Q lines.
So Staten Island Railway is covered by the MTA Police Department. They patrol all the stations, and they do that in coordination with NYPD precincts. And then the Long Island Railroad, Metro North, they're covered by MTA Police Department, and they also have police districts as well.
What's your transit district? Who are your NCOs? Find out by going to bit.ly/NYPD Transit.
Pledge. As I begin my service as a volunteer and representative for Passengers United, I pledge to uphold the mission and core principles of this organization. We want you to treat people with respect, dignity, and empathy. We want you to embrace diversity in all forms. We want you to listen to the concerns of the communities we serve with an open mind. That is so important. And we want you to act honestly, humbly, and professionally throughout your service to our communities and the larger world. So come on, everyone. I need you to say it with me now. We're going to do the pledge together. We have our hands up here and we're pledging. As I begin my service as a volunteer and representative of Passengers United, I pledge to uphold the mission and core principles of this organization. To treat people with respect, dignity, and empathy, to embrace diversity in all of its forms, to listen to the concerns of the communities we serve with an open mind, to act honestly, humbly, and professionally throughout my service to our communities and the larger world. Welcome to the Passengers United family. We're all here and we're so honored that you're joining us.
Thanks for watching. To stay up to date with Passengers United, please subscribe and follow us on social media. Learn more about us at passengersunited.org.